You ever finish a meditation session feeling pretty good, only to have a single email 5 minutes later send you right back into a stress spiral? You're putting in the work, you're sitting there every day, but that feeling of calm, it just doesn't seem to last. If you've ever felt like your mindfulness practice just isn't working, trust me, you are not alone. So let's dig into why that happens and, more importantly, what we can actually do about it. Right? You're doing all the things you're supposed to do, but the stress, that knee-jerk reactivity, it's all still there. It can be so frustrating, like you're just spinning your wheels. But here's the good news. There's a very specific reason for this, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you not trying hard enough. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's figure out what's really going on here. We're going to look at exactly why your practice feels like it's hit a wall. And I want to be super clear about this from the get-go. This is not about you failing at mindfulness. It's about understanding a really common roadblock that honestly most people hit. So here's the absolute key takeaway. The problem isn't your effort. You're showing up. The real barrier is a set of deep-seated, totally automatic mental habits that are running in the background, actively working against your practice, and you might not even realize it. These patterns have a name, and just knowing what to call them is the first huge step. The source material from mindfulness expert Girish Jha gives these patterns a pretty brilliant name: mental hangovers. I mean, it's the perfect term, right? It's that lingering residue from our old thoughts and reactions that just clouds up our ability to be present. So what are they exactly? Well, mental hangovers are these old, automatic habits in your brain that act like a wall, blocking new information from getting in. They're the reason you can have a totally peaceful meditation and then, boom, you're immediately back in your old stress loops. They keep you locked in that same frustrating cycle. And Cha's work really boils this down to three main types of these hangovers that we have to get a handle on. All right, first up, there's the ego. It's that part of you that filters everything and stops your mind from being truly open. Second, we've got wrong interpretations. This is when your mind automatically pulls up old memories to make sense of something new, which means you're not actually learning anything new at all. And third, unmet expectations. You think your practice should mean you never get upset, and the second you have an argument, you think, see, it's not working. These three are the culprits. So if those are the problems, what's the solution? Well, there's this incredibly powerful technique, a kind of master method that's the perfect antidote to these hangovers, and it's called gentle insistence. This slide just lays out the whole mindset shift so perfectly. See, most of us, when our mind wanders, we try to fight it. We struggle, right? We try to force it back, and all that does is create frustration and tension. Insistence is the total opposite. It's about gently and repeatedly guiding the mind back without any of that fight. So what do we really mean by insistence? It's the simple practice of calmly bringing your mind back to your focus point, like your breath, every single time it drifts away. No judgment, no self-criticism, no struggle. It's this gentle but persistent action that finally breaks the momentum of that reactive, impulsive, default mind. Okay, so we've got the core method down. Now let's get practical. Let's actually build out your toolkit with the specific, actionable things you can do to put gentle insistence into practice and finally get past those hangovers. Before you even start, there's a quick 3-step prep. First, place, position, and posture. Just become aware of where you are and ground yourself in your space. Second, being comfortable. Do a quick scan of your body and just feel that sensation of being steady. And third, being carefree. As thoughts pop up, you just notice them and say, that's a thought, which creates a little space between you and the chatter. Now for one of the most powerful tools in the kit, a mantra practice called Mangalacharan. And this quote just nails the idea. A mantra isn't about stopping the storm of thoughts in your head. It's about being the lighthouse that guides you safely through it. And the mantra itself, it's so beautifully simple. May there be happiness for all. You just repeat it in your head or out loud and focus on that intention. But, and this is a big but, this is where the real practice actually begins, because your mind is going to put up a fight. You know what your default mind will do, right? It's going to immediately go, happiness for all? What about my boss or that person who cut me off in traffic today? It wants to make exceptions. The whole practice is to gently insist, no, happiness for all. And by doing that, you actively start to break down and rewire those divisive, reactive habits. The other key anchor in your toolkit is your breath, but we're going to get super specific. You're going to focus on three things: the physical feeling of the air moving in and out, the subtle sensation right at the tip of your nose, and that steady, natural rhythm. This gives you a really simple, neutral anchor that makes it super easy to notice the exact moment your mind has wandered off. All right, so we have the diagnosis and we have the tools, but honestly, none of it works without this one foundational piece. This is the one thing that holds the entire framework together. And here it is, simple, direct, and to the point. For this to actually work, for your brain to physically change, your practice has to be consistent. It's not something you do when you feel like it. It has to become a non-negotiable part of your day. This slide reframes the act of skipping a session in such a powerful way. It's not just a missed appointment with yourself. In this framework, skipping a session is considered a hangover in itself. It's a sign that you let the outside world become more important than your own inner work. That perspective really highlights the kind of commitment we're talking about. So as we wrap this up, the question I want to leave you with is this. When you think about the ego, wrong interpretations, and unmet expectations, which one of those mental hangovers do you think might be the one holding your practice back? Just recognizing it, that's the first huge step to finally moving forward.